Good morning. This is Mark Johnson from Loyalty360, welcoming you to our ongoing Thought Leadership in Loyalty series. Today we have Bruce Rogers, the Chief Insight Officer from Forbes. How are you, Bruce?
I'm doing very well, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thanks for joining us. First question we like to ask is, how do you define loyalty, and how has this definition changed for you, and how do you anticipate it changing?
That's a great question because I think loyalty, to answer your second question first, is definitely changing over time, and certainly as a result of the rise of digital experiences, which give us the data to measure loyalty better, and then the experiences from organizations like Amazon and Zappos, who changed the way consumers think about loyalty. And so defining loyalty is, I think, one, it is and always has been in the eyes of the consumer or the customer. So loyalty is a customer-centric definition, first and foremost. If it's a corporate definition, then I think that speaks to an issue in and of itself. Because then, and maybe we can talk about this down the line, that loyalty is not necessarily a measure, depending how you measure that, customer satisfaction and so on, of customer value. So it's the dynamic between the customer's view, which is always about them, as it should be, and the business objectives.
Excellent. You mentioned experiences. We believe that engaging experiences are the baseline for creating customer loyalty and loyal customers. How should brands create the culture by which engaging experiences are important? We have a number of members who have not only changed their customer experience process and putting in best practices there, but also trying to change the vision and mission statement of the organization. Do you have some best practices around that? How brands should, change their culture, adopt their culture?
Yeah, we've done a lot of research in this area, and I think the intention is certainly good, and it certainly must come from the top of the organization and be a stated goal of the CEO, the board, the leadership team, that this is central to the business success. I mean, without that, there's probably very little opportunity for success. Then building the culture, it's one thing to have a vision, to announce it, and to start to unveil some program about it, but you have to have some experiences of success around what that culture can do for the organization. And so, one, it's a belief system, but then it has to be a belief system that is backed up by data. And presumably, whether that's the CMO or the COO or the organizational head who is ultimately charged with delivering that total customer experience and empowering the culture, has to feed that culture ongoing evidence of the success that they're experiencing.
Excellent. So with all these changes, customer experience and loyalty, what is the state of marketing today?
I think marketing in general is undergoing and has been undergoing and will continue to undergo probably the most fundamental transformation of any discipline within the business, within the corporation today. So much is changing so fast. We have customer expectations changing. We have technology change. We have just business conditions changing so fast that it's really hard to maintain, to get ahead of the customer, as it were. And right now, marketers are a little bit on their back foot, trying to keep up. And there are obviously a handful of folks who are dealing with that better than others. But I think everyone recognizes that this is a time of extraordinary change, and that one must become as educated and be open and be agile and adapt to new changes and new procedures and disciplines.
And that said, what are the biggest opportunities for marketers in the next 3 to 5 years, and what will be the biggest challenge for these marketers as well during that same time frame?
I think the biggest opportunity for any marketer anywhere is the idea of giving back data to their customers or consumers. I think up until now, marketers have spent an amazing amount of time and have gotten very good at extracting data from customers so that they can monetize that data. And I think increasingly smart companies, and what we're seeing companies that are sort of grew up as native to this concept, are experiencing fast and explosive growth. And I'll give you an example. Sort of the original idea that when Nike came out with the fuel bit, that's giving the data that you produce to help you become a better, healthier person, right? And as a result of that data, you have this different relationship with Nike. Now you feel that they're invested in the future of your personal health. Another example is in financial services, a company like Mint that aggregates all your personal financial data into an app that gives you an easy dashboard to see where you are. Why haven't banks done that? Or some are doing that, but it was the organization that was native to that idea that I think is really winning. And you're starting to see Uber is an example. It's really data. It's your data that helping you create a service. And so I think in the future, we're going to see companies find a way to give back the data that they extracted to create a higher value proposition for their customers.
Excellent. So when you talk about this change in data, obviously it's going to be based on reciprocity, but how do you suggest, or how do you train, or how do you engender within the organization this change to go from what would traditionally be more of a push to more of a pull, to maybe even to a value exchange? How do you advise CMOs as to how to do that?
I think it actually goes back to the original question, is that there's a culture. If you have a culture of customer centricity, then I think you start to think around these kinds of innovations within the organization. Where can you add value to your customer relationship, as opposed to how do I better monetize what we have? Not that there's anything wrong with monetizing that relationship, but I think you get a better, higher value from customers who feel like you are actually providing them a better service. Not just a better service, because everyone expects better service, but an increased level of engagement as a result of giving something back that you were delighted and surprised by. I think it's Apple has probably done this right from the beginning. And the iTunes environment. I mean, Amazon, to sort of flog the poster child of customer centricity, has done this right from the beginning and changed the way everyone thinks. But it's basically, it starts with the culture, and then it's driven by data.
One of the things that we see is this cauldron call for simplicity. There's obviously a challenge to create simplicity, and we talked about this in the interview series we did as well, the print series. How can one create simplicity with so much complexity in today's marketing environment? For the data, the challenges of new technology, algorithms, messaging. How do you create simplicity in an era of increasingly complex marketing?
Well, I think the paradox of that question, or that line of questioning, is that the world is going to get a lot more complicated before it gets more simple. And I sort of liken it to the days when electricity was introduced in the late 1800s, when companies would have, I'm sure they had a the equivalent of the chief electricity officer, right? It was an amazingly complex operation to get electricity up and running in your company, to change your whole procedures, to change your manufacturing process, your tooling, and et cetera, right? It was an amazing transformation. And yet today we walk into a room and turn a switch on and expect and know nothing about electricity, don't even know how it happens, but the light goes on. That, I think, is the process that will be ongoing in marketing, that there will be, on the one hand, a set of technologies and machine learning and artificial intelligence and programmatic platforms that will allow us to get better at delivering marketing content, marketing experiences to customers at the right time, at the right place. And then there will be, of course, there'll always be sort of the high level of creativity. That is what certainly chief marketers will continue to be paid for being at the center of that. But I think that might take a lifetime for that, maybe even more than that, for that to be completely completely come to fruition.
Excellent. So that kind of sets up the next question. How do brands keep up, or at least attempt to keep up, with these rapid technologies? You talk about electricity and how that became a commonplace. You talk about other areas that have done the same thing. So how do brands make the targeted bets? How do they decide what technology they should invest in, with some of them not necessarily having a profound or defined ROI?
I think what leading marketers are doing today is allocating an increasing percentage of their budgets to experimentation and innovation. I think those are two words that you're hearing more often, or that I'm hearing in my conversations with CMOs around the world. How do we become more innovative? The only way to become more innovative is to experiment, and experimentation comes with successes and failures, mostly failures. So can we set aside some portion of our budget to do that? So we're seeing that. And then secondarily is organizational change. Do I have people and skills in my marketing organization who are comfortable in managing technology? So whether that's a sort of marketing operations role or marketing technology role, someone who is dedicated to the discipline of marketing but understanding technology and is continuing to look out at the horizon on what's new and what's next.
As a follow-up to that, what if organizations aren't comfortable, or what if organizations feel they are actually more comfortable than they purport to be? If they're not being honest with their assessment of where they are in their marketing sophistication curve, as many talk about. How does that impact it, and how do you get that truly honest assessment of where you are as a brand in your level of marketing acumen and marketing sophistication?
That is a great question. In fact, we have just recently unveiled and will be making public a growth CMO self-assessment tool, part of which is technology and innovation and experimentation is part of every marketer's mindset, some more than others. So we've developed this self-assessment tool in partnership with a technology company, SAP, and a marketing and agency organization called Gyro, where we're going to help marketing organizations self-assess. No one is the perfect combination of all those skill sets. Everyone is on some journey of trying to increase their skills, and this will help folks going forward see where they are personally, where they might need some help, or at least in the quiet moments and solitude of their office, find out where they personally might have some strengths and weaknesses that they can work on, and then secondarily to roll that out to their organization so that they can see as an organization that if you're not strong in data and science, then certainly you need to have people on your staff who are. Doesn't mean that everyone has to be an expert in everything, but that you will need to be honest with yourself as to where you are in these disciplines.
Excellent. And the last question we have, one of the things that we talk about and we hear a great deal from our audience is this idea of expectation matching. So understanding kind of the unique and disparate expectations of your customers based on kind of where they may be in their life cycle as well, but also just getting that deep intrinsic understanding based on listening. How do brands get to understanding their customers at that level? Should they try to do one-to-one? Is it one-to-many? I mean, how do you understand the expectations of your audience, as you mentioned, its increased complexity and the challenge that is becoming more complex?
Well, certainly data is the key to that. Having a first and foremost a single data set or a single holistic view of your customers. Now, that is no small challenge, and as we talked previously, that folks are continually in some journey to getting to there, but at least having that goal in mind will then allow more opportunity to have the data to understand more about you as a customer so that I can serve you better, so that I can understand where you are in your customer journey. Have you downloaded 4 other pieces of content from our site? Have you been to our checkout 5 times? Have you called our call center? Have you tweeted about our brand? All those data points have to come together in one holistic dashboard, and again, sort of, no human being can manage that. So in a system that allows you to machine learn, artificial intelligence to get better at understanding where people are, not just where they are, but who they are and what their intentions are, so that you can better serve them. So it starts with data and ends with, or starts with a culture of data and ends with data to help understand customers better.
Well, Bruce, thank you very much for your wonderful insight. It's great to speak with you again, and hopefully the brands can get, and our audience can get a great deal of insight from this, because I think your approach is very holistic and you have obviously a great touch points within the market. So thank you very much for your time today.
Well, thanks for having me.